What's going on, y'all? Hey, happy Sunday. First of all, I want to apologize for not going live yesterday because I was actually scheduled to go live yesterday. But things come up, you know? Things come up at the studio. Things come up in business and in life, you know? And I become Italian. Hope you guys are doing well. This is a pretty, like, off-the-cuff kind of live, so I'm going to be reviewing songs as they come in. And yeah, so if you guys got songs, if you got links to songs, whatever, pop them in the chat and I'll jump right into them. If you want to skip the line, of course, there's always going to be a way to skip the line. Just join the Radium Roundtable, which is $5 a month right here on YouTube. And yeah, I'm here for you guys. I'm here to give you feedback on your music, on your mixes, your masters, your recording, your songwriting, your performance, whatever it is. Production, if you want feedback on your production. I don't know. It just depends. It's up to you. It is 4:36 on a Sunday. This is a very random time for me to go live and do any sort of song review. But I thought it'd be cool to just kind of do one off the cuff. So, and of course, this will be back up for replay so you guys can watch this again. But I'm going to jump right into the songs that I have that were uploaded from the other day, from the live song review, and we'll start reviewing this stuff and give you guys some feedback on everything. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, highly recommend you subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of content coming out in November, December. I mean, we're really trying to ramp this stuff up for you guys, give you guys as much as we can, give you all the heat, all the gas, and without further ado, I'm going to jump into what we got here in the Dropbox. See what we got. See who uploaded. See who's got music. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Like I said, this is kind of an off-the-cuff live I'm doing here, so whoever shows up, you're going to get a lot of attention, which is pretty awesome. So if you're here right now, drop a link to your music. I'm here to review your music, give you feedback on it. Have a platinum record, Grammy, Oscar, Emmy-nominated work, worked on billion-dollar grossing films, been in music for over 24 years, and this is Radium Records. So you guys get my attention, full attention. All right, so if you got a link, you got some music, you want some reviews, you want some feedback, now's the time. And let's get into it. All right, so let me find the folder here that has the uploads from the other day. Got all sorts of stuff on here. Let me go into music reviews and let's go to modified here. Oops. All right, so I actually just put this folder up, so I don't think there's going to be anything in there. Not in there. Here we go. Music reviews. All right, so we got quite a few here. I think this was actually from Wednesday's review, so I'm not going to go through these. Let me see here. 1017. I'm just trying to catch up on anything that didn't get reviewed from the last couple reviews. But if we don't get anybody in here, I won't review anything. And that's okay with me as well. So let me look at this here. This looks like we got a bunch of tracks that got uploaded. Little Dex. I'll go by date modified. So Little Dex, Purpose, Love Hurts. Jeez, there's a lot of tracks in here. I'm just going to grab some stuff at random. So Be Up Next, he's part of the roundtable. Lose Myself, Cartier Mix 1. Let's roll. Okay, hold on. I want to make sure you guys can hear this. Obviously, you can't. I just like looked at the sound. I'm like, wait, hold up. Y'all ain't hearing this. Here we go. Let's try this. You know, this shit is pretty dope, so I'm actually really excited to listen to this one.
If I lose you, then I'll lose myself. I really need to check on my mental health. I know this ain't gon' end like a fairy tale. In your world, I'm a hero. Let me put the jack to your sparrow. Playing with your kitty like hello. Got sauce like jello. Ain't no location where we can't go. You so far like Flamo. Goddamn, you so fago. Yeah. All these emotions are going straight into my mind. They said that if you're true soulmates, your love comes alive, and it does. If I lose you, then I'll lose myself. I think I need to check on my mental health. I really, really hate how I love myself. It would suck if you lost me to death. I remember your birthday. Franklin Stair said is where we made out. Intermission, behind is where I hit it. I love it when you're screaming. No better feeling when I'm in.
Okay, so weird because it's 1 minute 17 seconds long, so it kind of cuts off there. But I really dig his voice. I really like the flow. I like the vibe of it. It's kind of laid back. It's kind of has like a bit of an emo pop punk kind of vibe to it. XXX Tentacion. A little bit of that, a little bit of the, kind of emo trap shit going on, right? Which I really like. I think that's really, really dope. It's a great blend of a lot of different genres. So first thing I would say is like the structure of it just really needs to be worked on. It sounds like an idea, and it sounds like the writing was coming along, right? Like you were getting somewhere with this. Maybe you got to put your head down and you got to finish and flesh out things. I'm not really hearing like a chorus, like a hook. I'm just kind of hearing like a freestyle kind of da 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 da, and that's cool. It works, but I mean, I'm gonna try and find the hook here.
If I lose you, then I'll lose myself. I really need to check on my mental health.
So I kind of feel like this is the hook right here. If I lose you, I lose myself. Really need to check on my mental health, right? Like this is cool. Maybe needs like some double, some stacks, some more definition to tell me like, yo, this is the hook. This is it right here, because the song is like 1:17. But again, this needs arrangement. The intro's way too long. I would cut that down like crazy. Maybe show us a tease of the sample here and then go right into that hook. We don't need, 22 seconds of an intro. I just really don't think a lot of people are going to listen that long before we get to that hook. So let's get to that hook. Let's arrange this out better. And I think you got something that's really worthy of making into a song, right? And this could do really well on SoundCloud. Like SoundCloud rap is like, still much alive. Like there's definitely a need for it. There's definitely a calling for it. And plenty of people publishing tracks on SoundCloud that are doing pretty well right now. So I think that would be a really good look for you. Otherwise, I think the vocal sounds cool. The vocal chain sounds good. The mix sounds pretty like, SoundCloud rap kind of mix. I think it could be a lot bigger. The master could be a lot bigger. But that's okay. For now, I just want to hear an arranged song and a fully written song. So hopefully that helps out. And let's go to Ray Palmer, 01, track 1. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it there because I think the song is well structured and written and everything. But to give it a really quick review, most of it's gonna be mixed notes for me. Like the track needs to open up. It sounds very like muffled, very unclear, very dated sounding, right? Sounds like it's literally coming from like a VHS tape player, you know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't have that competitive modern feel to it, which I think is really lacking in this track, which, you know, is just mix and master stuff, right? And I think that a mix and master could go a really long way. And I think, you know, just because, you know, there's not a whole lot of people on this live, if anybody, there's maybe 1 or 2 people on here, so that's fine. I never care about that. I think all you guys are, you know, if I had 1 million people on here, I would pay the same amount of attention to you guys. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna download this, and I'm just gonna show you, Ray, if you ever watch this, you know, restream it or whatever, what I would do with the master, right? And sort of start to get it to come forward and be a little bit more powered and front and center and a little more modern feeling, right? So if you guys don't mind, I'll do a little quick kind of master tutorial with you guys live here. And I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I am going to kind of show you what I would do with it right away to kind of uncongest it and kind of get it forward and just sounding bigger and more modern, you know, because it does sound very dated with the mix, how it is right now. But I do think that it's a really cool sound. So let's drag this into Logic, and I'm just going to do this in Logic. You can do it in anything. You can do it in Pro Tools and Ableton Live, whatever. I stretch this out so I can kind of see where the dB are and like where the headroom is, and then also the loudest part of the song. So the loudest parts for me are right here, and then you have some peaking right here, right? And it looks like they were really, really careful not to go too far on the peak, which is fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of circle right around here, cycle this area, right? So that we can get sort of the louder area here. And let's just listen to this and let's start to tweak with just an EQ and maybe some limiting. Very basic stuff. So the first thing I'm hearing with my ears is that the drums and everything are kind of tucked really back. The vocals are really peaky in a certain frequency. So there's just a few things I would want to like tap into, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a BX Digital. Any sort of EQ is cool. Let's open up the V3. Okay, and we're going to start to look around here. Activate this. For some reason it always does this, makes me reactivate my plugins for some reason. I'm like, come on guys, get it together. All right, so a good starting point with this is maybe a preset like an MS mastering start or something. The mono maker's cool, I'll leave that on, and I won't have any shifting, so I'll just option click all this stuff. I don't want any shifting. And let's give it just a little bit of stereo width, and I'm just going to show you sort of the frequencies that I would look for when I'm trying to make some more clarity happen. So I'm taking these filters off. I don't need those filters. I might want to filter that. Might want to filter that. That's fine. But let's start looking around these low mid areas where it's really chunky. Okay, really basic. I'm just going to take out just a touch, right, of that 450, because that's just really resonating to me. And that's going to bring some clarity. And then let's start to compress or limit, right, just so that we can start to get some levels up, because I feel like the levels are really, really low, right? So even if you just use a trusty L2 from Waves or an L1, you know, any sort of limiter that's going to help you out here. I'm going to set a ceiling, and I'm going to start bringing the threshold down. And let's see what we can do. Okay, so that's like really like right away, just listen to the difference between those two. So there's also some tuning issues. I think the vocal's a little bit pitchy, right? Like it's just getting a little bit like easy Melodyne fix. Go into Melodyne, fix up the notes that aren't working. But after this L2, you can start to see and hear the frequencies that are going to be really problematic. So you might even limit before you EQ, right? Just so you can bring up the obviously, I need to mix this, but I'm just showing you some things you can tweak on the master and the overall frequency range of this track to just help it get some clarity, right? So let's open up a Pro Q3, and we'll put this into linear natural phase, and we'll start to just kind of, shave away some of the mud and the stuff that's just kind of buzzing and humming and weird stuff going on. So a lot of the issues are in the mix. Like you're not going to really be able to master this too much. But what I'm doing here may look like insane EQing or whatever, but this is actually just dynamically EQing. And what I'm doing is anytime this frequency gets too much, I'm just taking it down when it hits hard. So when that 304 really comes in, that's when I'm just tucking it down dynamically. So I'm compressing it down, right? Same thing here with this 1200, because that's where his voice is kind of going, it's like just squealing right there. So just a little bit of EQing, a little bit of limiting. And I'll actually just even take this EQ out. Let's just say we have a limiter and we got an EQ right now, right? We'll bypass these in and out. And you'll just kind of see the clarity and the openness kind of open up. Also notice like the certain frequencies that like, like kind of scream out at you. Those things we have to control, and that's what this dynamic EQ is doing right in this mid-range. And you could actually widen this out pretty good. Like you could go with something that's a little bit wider, like, not that obviously, but you could go a little wider on the Q, right? So you can widen this out so that anytime this screams in the mid-range, it just kind of tucks it back. And it doesn't need to be by 4.5 dB, but it can be by, 2 dB or 3 dB, right? And then anytime it's not doing that, we're leaving it alone. That's all this is doing, which is a really, really powerful thing. It's just smoothing it out really well, okay? Now, obviously, you can use more modern tools as well. Like you can come in and use, Goldfoss, dynamic EQs that kind of, figure out look ahead, all that stuff. That's really not the point of what I'm trying to show you here. The point of what I'm trying to show you here is that the mix and what's going on in the mix is really the problem. It's not the mastering. And a lot of the times people will think, man, I need a master, bro. Like, could you just master this track? We got it where we want it. It's like, nah, you really need this mixed. This really needs a mix because the individual elements, the bass, the bass guitar is just not singing. It's not speaking right. It's like you can't hear the notes. You can't hear what's going on, the musical intention, what the vocal is following. You can't hear, the vocals are like screaming at certain areas, which means, those harmonies need to be treated right. You can't fix things in mastering. Certain things you just cannot fix, okay? Yeah, so it's just a big part of it is making sure you've spent the time on the mix. You have to really spend the time on the mix. You have to get a great engineer. You have to have someone with ears, with a room that understands how to mix records. It has a lot to do with fitting the parts together and arranging the parts right. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to show you. I just wanted to show you some of those issues that are happening in this track. And they're very common issues. You're going to get those, you're going to get those things that are like, first of all, this is not a very high level, once you get it to a level that's competitive, you hear all the issues, right? So having it this low in level, it's not going to make sense. People are going to be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. Okay. But what happens when you put it to a competitive level where it plays back to back against a record that is at a competitive level? This is going to shit the bed. And people are going to be like, what is this garbage? Nobody wants to hear this. They will skip it right away. So this is the importance of having the tech side down, right? And if you don't want to spend the next 10 years of your life getting the tech side down, you should hire people that have already spent that time, right? I mean, I've spent 24 years being obsessed with this kind of stuff. So you don't really have to. That's the whole idea, right? So now I'm going to plug in and out just with EQ and limiting. This is nothing. This is not I'm not even touching this master. I haven't even started touching this master because I would mix it first, right? Because the mix is shit. So I'm just going to show you in and out with just these two plugins. Now you'll notice the snare comes forward. The mid-range still comes forward even though we're tucking back the mid-range. You know what I'm saying? This is really important to understand because you're not going to sometimes hear certain elements until you go up to the harmonics, right? So for example, I want you to really listen with your ears to the snare drum, okay? Just focus on the snare drum. That's it. Don't think about anything else. Listen to the snare drum as I put these in and out. This is not crazy stuff that I'm doing here. This is very, very basic and obvious stuff, right? So just bringing the spit on top of the snare drum, you're going to hear the kick and you're going to hear the snare better, right? So this is why these are mix problems, because if I do bring the spit out of the kick and the snare, if I bring the actual beater out of the kick drum, and then I bring the spit and the top and the bottom of the snare, the actual snares, if I bring those out, then I also bring out other stuff that's not so good in the mix, like some noises and stuff that weren't taken care of in the edits or in the cleanup phase, right? And this is why you cannot rush into the mastering phase. This is why a lot of artists hit me up and go, hey man, how much you charge for mastering? And I'm like, send me your track and then we'll talk, right? Because a lot of the times your track doesn't need mastering. And if you're paying mastering engineers or emastering.com, or I just put it on AI mastering on Isotope, then you don't understand the game. You're not getting it. What you're doing is you're like, hey, I'm going to be a rocket scientist. Okay, cool. So they have these things where you could just go to night classes 3 days in a row and then you become a rocket scientist. So you didn't get any of the fundamentals of the actual 8 years of education it takes to become a rocket scientist. You don't have the fundamental understanding. You don't really get how rocket fuel or combustion or anything really works with rockets. But then you took some night classes and you plugged it in and you said, I'm a rocket scientist, right? It's very different. Like, I mastered my track. The problem is your ears and your understanding of what a record that's going to be market viable and going to go out and be successful and make you money and make you a business, which you don't have, is not going to be through you throwing it on e-mastering or rushing things to master. It's going to be through understanding the full process of making records, all right? The full circle. The writing, the recording, the arrangement, the producing, the sound selection, the sound design, the soundscaping, where do you put things, orchestrating, right? And then mixing and editing and tuning and finalizing all that and cleanup and understanding what are good noises and what are bad noises. And then finally, after you've mixed so many times over and over and over from a great record that has great arrangement and songwriting and everything else, you finally get to the mastering stage where they do basically like the last 5, sometimes only 2%, right? But you're like, yo, I'm just going to skip all that. And I'm just going to go, hey, I need a mastering engineer. You mixed it yourself? That's crazy. You produced it yourself. You wrote the songs. You did everything yourself. To me, I think that sounds insane unless you've been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. And you have credits and you have the proof that you're doing it right. And you have monetization or whatever else you find to be a success in your music business or in your music endeavors or artistry. And I think that that's really important to understand. You can't just go, I'm here, I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to release a song. Okay, that's cool. But when you're not finding any success with that, you have to switch up your route and you have to figure out what's going on and what's wrong and figure out where in the process you're really lacking. And I think a lot of people don't think about this. They don't think about, where am I lacking in what part of the process? They might think they're really good at mixing when they have no proof that they are good at mixing. They might think that they're really great songwriters when no one's ever really even bought their songs or downloaded them or told them they're a great songwriter. They never won any songwriting competitions. They never, they don't have any Grammys or Oscars or Emmys or anything for songwriting. They don't have anything going on. But for some reason, they think they're great songwriters. It's just crazy, like, oh, because my mom told me I'm a great songwriter. So I digress. But the point is what you have to understand, this is a full process. And right now with this song, and this being a very, very in-depth review for you, Ray Palmer, with this song, you've skipped so many steps to like literally uploading it to get a review on YouTube. You have so many steps to go. You need editing. You need vocal tuning. You need all the things that are going to make it a record. You need great mixing. Your mixing is not right. Your arrangement and your orchestration might not even be right. I don't know until I get into the session and I see what's blocking what's on top of what. Do you have like a bass line on top of a guitar, on top of a synth, on top of a, vocal line that's all in the same range? I don't know, right? I'd have to see the stems. I'd have to see how you have things laid out. And that's a big, big, important part of what you're doing here when you're making records. We're not just writing songs, guys. We're making records. Now, this is a full process of producing and production. It has a lot to do with so many intricacies that you're just missing. You're not paying attention to, and you're rushing to the finish line because you're like, this feels good. This is a song I wrote. It just needs drums, and you're just plugging things in without understanding there's an art and a science to every single thing that you're plugging in. Okay? So let's move on. Let's do one more song review, one more song here, and then I'm going to get out of here. because it looks like we got a very inactive crowd tonight. Isaiah Anderson, Mushrooms. Let's go.
Motherfuckers think I make it brand new nowadays. Now that same old shit. I'm just on a different type of time now.
You knowing what you're about to
No. Had to change watches. They digging the drips. Slim, you didn't change, you not eating the same. New grocery list. It cost you the boss, so bound back from a loss. You don't want to pay, so you broke in the bed. They slept on me until I got out the woods. Now look at all of these unhappy campers. I'm supposed to be rich. I've been getting money since baby pounds. Niggas want trophies for they past accolades. Yeah. Back awards, I'm so amazed. Okay. Well, can I get paid for the times I forgave, or a little gratitude for the road that I paid? I'm so dope, my footprints are residue. You wanna be me, but I'm what you can't measure to. And I'm not trying to put me on the pedestal, it just when the road gets.
So before I give feedback on this song, because I know exactly what it needs and what I think about it, but I want to address what you're talking about here, Brian, because I think this is really important. It's all in the initial recording and then all in the mix. Learning this part is focal. Without it, no one can hear the song the same as the artist envisions. And that right there is the key, okay? So that really starts to get into the conversation of no one can hear the song the same way the artist envisions the song, right? That is like 100% on the spot. Like, this is why it's so exciting to have an open world of people making music with laptops, phones, you know, like whatever. The technology is flattened out. Like anybody and everybody can jump in and make songs, right? We have loops. You can get in there and you can make your art. You can throw stuff at the wall. Basically, everybody has the paintbrushes now. They have all the colors, the acrylics, and they have the canvas, and they can all afford it. I mean, the majority of the world can afford it. So here's the issue right there, Ryan, is that if the whole world has an artistic vision that they're envisioning, but they have no... if they have no skills and they have no desire to learn the techniques to become a great artist, then the ideas mean shit. Okay? Let me say that again. If you come into the art world or the construction world or the architecture world or the want to be a doctor, want to be a dentist, want to be a lawyer, want to be a great chef, want to be a great salesperson, great marketer, great businessman, businesswoman. If you have no desire to learn the techniques that make those things happen, the skills that make those things happen, then what are you? You're literally a high-ass motherfucker sitting in a room with ideas. Like, that's the truth. I mean, let's be real with this shit, you know? Like, just because I have ideas of what McDonald's should do to sell their McRib sandwich, does that mean that I'm a marketer now? I mean, a lot of people would say, well, you could start your own business online and say you're a marketer and you can run people's Instagrams right now, right? You just got to sell them on it. Okay, you got to have very basic sales skills. You got to know how to, make a web page or whatever, which is really basic. And you go through all the basics. And this is the problem right now that the whole world is having, is that you can go through all the fucking basics. You got emaster.com, right? You can literally upload your song, right? You have lander.com. You can upload your song. You got mixing engineers, quote unquote, with cracked plugins that don't know anything about those plugins, that will in studios, bedrooms, that don't know what they're hearing or how they're hearing things, with prosumer gear that's affordable, right? Non-tuned rooms, non-tuned ears, non-tuned skill sets, non-tuned techniques, mixing and mastering and charging baseline rates. I mean, dude, anything can be done for free. Anything can be done for $1. Anything can be done for $5. Like, dude, come on, we have Fiverr, right? So anything can be done at any baseline level. You can be a commodity in anything, right? And who wins in the commodity world? The least amount, the cheapest product, the cheapest service wins the commodity race. It's a race to the fucking bottom. So if you're on Fiverr, you race to the bottom. Who's the cheapest? Who's the cheapest? Can you do this the cheapest? It doesn't mean it's the best, nor does it mean it even competes in any sense of what art is. So in the art and commerce space of making music, of making graphic designs, of making logos, of making websites, of making, just pick it, right? Like the clothing. It takes taste level. Taste level is trained through going through it, experiencing it, right? Like you have to make the t-shirt that nobody fucking likes. Make another t-shirt that some people like. Make another t-shirt that a lot of people like. Make another t-shirt that you fucking love and even the fashion industry really likes. Make another t-shirt that makes you $1 million because it's fucking awesome and everybody loves the way it feels, the way it looks, the way it fits, the way it, the logos, the designs, everything, right? And that comes through technique. It comes through practice and it comes through learning the skill set. It doesn't come from just making 1,000 t-shirts, because you can make 1,000 shitty t-shirts and never learn anything from it if you're not going to change your process, your skill set, and you're not going to change your techniques and learn techniques and keep learning from the mistakes. A lot of people will never learn from the mistakes. They'll make 10,000 records exactly the same, and they'll say, this is my process, and someone just told me you just have to keep releasing music. And that's fucking bullshit. And I think the problem is most people listen to that online because they see these memes and they can find anything to prove themselves right. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I am doing the right thing because this quote said that. And I'll go find the people and I'll follow the people that are telling me I'm doing the right thing so that I can keep saying that I'm doing the right thing. I just need to do it more. That's just not fucking true. It never will be true. You have to find what you're doing wrong. You need to learn from it. And you need to practice and develop those skills and those techniques to make the things that you're trying to make, right? To get to that point where you're trying to get. And the truth is if you're winning and you're developing and you're becoming better at your skills and your techniques, you never, ever get to a point where you're like, I got it. I got the formula. The formula keeps changing. That's the whole point. You chase something that's not obtainable. That's why you get into art. So anyway, I digress. This is like this song right here, Isaiah, way too much reverb. I want definition in what you're trying to say. Like, I think it's getting skewed in the reverb mostly.
They digging the drips. Slim, you didn't change. You're not eating the same. New bro.
It's like, reverb doesn't necessarily make things bigger. Sometimes reverb makes things more or less important, right? So sometimes reverb washes things out. Sometimes reverb makes things feel like they're in the back. They're less important. They're not as important. And I think that that's a big misconception, is that if you reverb things out, that it's going to sound bigger. You're in a bigger world. Yeah, no. Bigger can be stacks, and it can be timbres, and it can be layers, and it can be subtle things, ad-libs, dimension makes things bigger. So if you have something in front of you, i.e. a compressed vocal in your face that's not reverbed, and I'm right here talking to you, and then you got something 20 feet behind me, that's dimension, that's big, right? But if I'm in this room and I'm talking to you, and then there's just like, someone right here to my right and left with no reverb, then that's what you got. So the same thing with reverb. If I'm right here, but then I reverb myself out to be in this big room and I'm the only one, then it's not big. It's just me in an empty room, right? It doesn't make it bigger. So I just want you to really understand that concept with reverb. If you don't understand the concept of reverb and making things bigger, you'll never really get that big sound. And I feel like that's what you're going for. And I think this is off, right?
Didn't change, you're not eating the same. New grocery list. It costs you the boss, so I'm back because I'm so dope, my and I'm not. Yeah. I'm back on my bullshit. More money, more problems, I'm counting the blues. These niggas counterfeit.
Right, so everything's kind of in the same dimension, and the problem is if you don't have a juxtaposition, like for example, in art and painting, we would call this perspective, right? If you don't have the perspective that this cup is right here, right? here. And then you have something like in the back, the lighting in the background, right? If you don't have the depth, the perception, the perspective of where things are placed throughout the sound realm and the soundscape, then nothing sounds big. Everything sounds drowned out. Everything sounds like you're just in, drowned out space. So you have to make sure fundamentally that your drums, especially in this style of music, your drums, which is just trap. It's just like melodic trap shit, right? Make sure your 808, your drums are like punching and jumping out of the speakers. They're in your face. And the vocals in the same plane as the drums and the 808, right? And then your ad-libs can be in the back. Your doubles, your stacks, your harmonies, a synth layer can be in the back. Things can be kind of like popping around up the top and stuff, right? But you can't make something sound big if everything's in the back. And that's what this sounds like to me. Anyway, you guys, that's all the time I got tonight. I appreciate the few people that showed up, and I will leave this replay up just so you guys can get something out of it. And hopefully you understood what I'm actually even talking about, because sometimes I can get a little bit esoteric, I can get into some theory, some theoretic, philosophy kind of shit. But the truth is like once you get to the point where you've mastered the technical parts of mixing, mastering, recording, etc., you can start to get into the philosophy of what a song is. You can get into the storytelling, and you don't have to worry so much about the EQing and what plugin you're going to use, etc. Those things are just tools. They're just colors, Don't put so much importance on plugins, and don't put so much importance on the tools. I think that's really important. You have to understand your mind, your creativity, your skill set, your techniques, the things you've learned, the way that you do things and the way you process the world and the way you tell stories. That is much more valuable than, oh, dude, I got the new Sound Toys plugin on Black Friday. Like it's not going to do as much for you as all the marketing would have you think. Okay. So until next time, we're going to do a song review on Wednesday. We'll give you a lot more heads up. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. And appreciate you coming through and dropping questions and talking, Ryan. It means a lot. I know this was off the whim. So you guys have a good Sunday night. Peace out.